Every once in a while you get somebody who legitimately thinks magic cleans the park, but for the most part I think people just don't even think about it. I go in about when the park is closing usually, and I do all of the heavier cleaning that would make the experience a little less magical for the guests if they were to see it. I loved Cinderella when I was little, drove my mom crazy with the dancing mice. I loved Ariel and Belle. I take a lot of pride in the type of work that I do. I walk in there and you can see that there have been several thousand people there all day having fun, and you can see the aftermath. And at the end of our day, the beginning of everybody else's, we walk out of there and the park is beautiful.
There was one time where I was staying in a neighborhood and a cop came up and said that I needed to move. And I said, well, where would you like me to go? I work full-time, 60 hours a week, and I can't afford a roof over my head right now. Let's take I-5 South Los Angeles and I-710 South. Living out of your car, that's pretty bad. I've been a cosmetologist for 10 years. I sacrifice my living because I cannot sacrifice my health care or my food or my transportation.
People want to be shown the appreciation that they feel that they're due for their loyalty and for their hard work. And wages is one of the ways that Disney really fails at that. One of my leads in my department, he's been with the company for 45 years. He was able to buy his house. He was able to have a family. I think he put a couple of his kids through college. He was able to have an American middle-class life working as a custodian.
If you've got a global corporation like the Disney Corporation that last year made $9 billion in profits, and they've got 11% of their employees at Disneyland who've been homeless at some point in the last 2 years, you'd think that Disney would care about that. This is the company that claims to be the happiest place on earth, but it's not the happiest place to work. We found that 3/4 of them can't make ends meet at the end of the month. They couldn't pay the rent and the food and the child care. We found that 68%, 2/3 of the workers are food insecure, meaning they can't feed their children or they have to do without 1 or 2 meals a day.
There have been a couple of times where I've had emergencies where I couldn't buy any food. So there were times when I got down to just plain spaghetti. And that's what I was eating until the next paycheck. I currently have 2 roommates, one of which is staying in the living room. My take-home pay is usually between $1,200 and $1,300 a month. I spend $730 for my share of the rent, so that's around 60%. That leaves about $500. A lot of that goes to food, and then utilities. And after that, whatever's left usually goes to things like shampoo and toilet paper and toothpaste and occasionally a candy bar.
So I'm a type 1 diabetic, so I have to test my blood sugar before I eat, every time I eat. Since I've worked for Disney, I've worked full-time hours, but they would work me full-time for 2 months and then drop me to part-time for 1 week so that they wouldn't have to give me my medical benefits. Finally, after 6 months, I applied for full-time and finally got it. And so now I have medical insurance. It's still difficult, but that is exactly why I gave up a roof over my head instead of my health benefits.
Disney is perceived by the Orange County community as a very good neighbor. Disney is one of our members, as well as one of the largest employers in the state of California. The entire state of California is a very expensive place to live. This isn't an Anaheim issue or an Orange County issue. The high-paying jobs are what it takes to live in this county. It means that the lowest skilled workers will be looking at longer commutes to go to places where living is affordable, or they'll have to double and triple up in existing housing, presuming they can even find a place to live. For low-wage workers, this is not an environment for them to thrive.
It's been a very successful business model for Disney to spend money to give campaign contributions to city council members in Anaheim in exchange for about $1 billion in subsidies that they've gotten from the city government. If they paid people a living wage, that living wage would ripple into the entire economy and improve conditions for all the other local businesses who aren't doing as well because the biggest employer in the region is paying people poverty wages. We had 5,000 people respond to the survey. That's almost 30% of the entire unionized workforce. To put it in some context, if you were going to do a national survey of the entire United States, you'd have to survey roughly 100 million people to get the same response rate that we got. They claim that the report isn't scientific, but they can't point to any of the facts that we've uncovered that they can dispute with alternative evidence.
Usually on Mondays, I'll get off at 12:25 in the morning. And if not that, then I usually get off at about 9. So by the time I drive out here, I just park my car, set up, and go to sleep. This isn't okay. It's not okay for a licensed professional to be doing this, and it's not okay for a person working an entry-level job who's working hard to go through something like this. It's the in-between time of nothing to do. In-between time of literally just hanging out in your car. Things that are embarrassing. Things like when you have to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. Those are the things that you really learn to not take for granted. I kind of look for little gaps where I'm not trying to be in front of a house and make people uncomfortable. I try to find just a little quiet area, like a bush over there, in front of the house, where I'm not going to disturb anybody. And also, of course, I take a look at the neighborhood and, what the safety is of it here.
Most days I get to work about 10:45 unless the bus runs late. We start our shift at 11:30 p.m. When I walk in at night, it's still lit up. They haven't shut everything down yet, and it's got a peacefulness that I don't experience during the day. Working the night shift can be very exhausting and tedious if you're not careful. I've seen how many people tend to burn out quickly who can't stay awake or never adjust to the shift. It takes me about an hour and 15 minutes to an hour and a half because there's a 40-minute gap in between the buses. It's a little frustrating looking at that sometimes because it's only a 10-minute car ride. I recently got a second job doing cleaning work and setup work at the convention center. Getting a second job, as exhausting as it's gonna be, it's really a necessity.